Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Jennifer Lynn, the founder of Nurtured Roots LLC, where she integrates holistic wellness with compassionate care. As a certified Reiki Master, yoga and mindfulness instructor, and grief educator, she helps individuals reduce stress, build resilience, and find balance. Jenn offers personalized one-on-one sessions, tailoring her approach to support each client's unique healing journey. Jenn, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. As I mentioned for our listeners before we started rolling, I was telling Jenn how I haven't had a guest yet who does what she does. So that's why I'm very excited to bring her on and have her talk about everything that she's doing. So that's where I'd love to start with this episode, Jenn. I'd love to have you give us an overview of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I am excited because I love what I do and I love being able to share it with people because, not everybody knows about the work that I'm doing. And
Hmm.
my goal in the work that I do is to make it accessible to people where they feel like I'm meeting them halfway and helping them find ways to be more mindful in their lives in a way that works best for them, because it's not a one size fits all. And that goes from the movement and mindfulness all the way through the Reiki healing and the grief support. No two
Hmm.
people are going to be the same or need the same kind of support. So I really try to tailor all of the work and the programming that I do to fit kind of not one mold, but just sort of, open it up to different people from different backgrounds and experiences and all of that. But yeah, I love what I do. So I'm excited that I'm on here and we get to talk about it and share and all of that. So yeah, it's exciting.
Absolutely. And so, what is it about your career, or even your interests, that led you to pursue a career in the Reiki, yoga, mindfulness, and grief?
I never in a million years thought that this is what I would be doing. I mean, if you had asked me 10 years ago, where do you see yourself? Like 5 years or whatever, I just wouldn't have even thought of these things as part of my life. I'm so glad. I think it just happened organically.
Mhm.
My mom, when she was sick, and she had cancer, we had somebody come in and do Reiki. And at the time I was like, that's so weird. And even now I always joke with people, like, it's weird, I get it, but it does work and it does help people. And I love holding space in a way that makes people feel safe and heard, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. So
Mhm.
when I was volunteering for hospice years ago, I got reintroduced to it. And that was over 20 years ago. So when I got reintroduced to it, I was like, maybe I'm at the right time and place where I can look into this a little bit more. So I started with that. And then I got involved with kids yoga. I've always loved being with kids and working with kids. So it was kind of like a natural progression to try some yoga teacher training, see how I felt about that. And then I just expanded my trainings to really be open to children and adults and the
Mhm.
support. And I've always loved working with people and helping people. My mom always used to ask me, like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to help people. And she's like, well, what does that mean? Like, you want to be a therapist? Do you want to like work at the grocery store? Like, you can be helping people in so many ways. I'm like, I don't know. And then I had younger kids and I was trying to figure out outside of parenthood, what does my life look like? What is my purpose?
Mhm.
And this was it. And I just feel grateful every single day. And not to sound corny or anything, but I really truly love what I do. I don't
Yeah.
see it as work. I really do feel like it's a calling and a purpose that I get to fulfill every single day. And I just love what I do. Yeah. I
Yeah,
really,
and which is so evident. I mean, your passion, it totally shines through. I mean, even chatting with you and we follow each other on social media, so I see your marketing, like it's very, very clear that you enjoy it. And it sounds like too, from everything that you offer. I don't know if modality is the right term, but it sounds like all the modalities that you offer are all complementary of one another and
yeah.
likely seem to kind of lead from one to another and so on and so forth. Would you say that's right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, if somebody, I do have a lot of people that come to me for Reiki healing and they're also in need of grief support. So those two really do go well together. And even just, it really, like you said, I mean, they really do all connect in some way. And somebody might need me for one at one point in their life, and then they come back for something else that's come up, and just knowing that there's that additional support there. And I never say the work I'm doing is in place of therapy or traditional medicine. Like, it really complements it very well. And I feel like this is all of the things I'm doing are modalities that are accessible to everybody, and just having people understand, what works for them, who works for them, because not everybody's going to gravitate towards my style, and that's okay too. But yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier something that I think a lot of us can relate to, which is like when you first kind of got introduced to Reiki, you were like, what the heck is this? And I think some of our listeners will probably be wondering that as well. And so could you give an overview of what it is, how it's used, what it could be used for all the good things?
Yeah. So it's, I really go at my Reiki practice in a very simplistic way. There's all sorts of things that you can do with it. You can bring in crystals and all of that stuff, and I love all of that. I don't use it in my practice.
Hmm.
I really want people to come into my space, or if I'm practicing outside of my office space, to come in and just feel like they don't need to have any expectations. Like you
Hmm.
walk in, there's no judgment, there's no expectations. You can sit in a chair. Most people come in and they lay down on the bed. It's like a massage table. You're fully clothed and you can lay under the blankets if you want. You can just be on top and the music is on, an eye pillow if you'd like it. It's really a way to get into a meditative state that we wouldn't
Hmm.
normally get into on our own. And it's through a light, gentle touch. I don't touch anywhere personal. It's really just, a light, gentle touch at your shoulders or your head or working down, to the bottoms of the feet. Or it's almost like a hovering over. It's energy work, which is
Hmm.
really hard to explain. And I've been
Yeah.
doing this for years, and it is really hard to explain. So, in the most simplistic way, it's helping people get into a meditative state where their bodies and their minds can do the work, the healing that needs to be done. And you might come in and feel like, yeah, I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed and stressed. And that little bit of time that you're laying on that table where you can just know you're safe, you are supported, there's no expectations is enough to just help our calm our nervous system, give us a little bit of a break away from the craziness of the outside world. Like once you come into that space, everything's left at the door and
Yeah.
I've got you. And that was a long answer to get there, but I really want people to understand that there are all different kinds of practitioners, and depending on what you're looking for, it's not a competitive thing. Like I love that there's so many of us that are doing this work and we each bring our own aspect to it. For me, it's lay down on the table. I got you. Close your eyes. Let yourself go where you need to go and connect to your breath, connect to the
Hmm.
present moment. I love it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I never in a million years thought that I would be doing this because years ago when my mom had it done in her, I was like, what are you doing? It's weird, but we can laugh about it because it's hard to explain. It's not like
Yeah.
it's green, it's got sparkles. Like I can tell you exactly, this is tangible. Yeah,
Hmm.
energy work is just not. But it is amazing what it can do, the release that people feel from it. It's it really is something that is hard to explain. You almost have to just experience it to
Right.
understand what it can do for you. Yeah. So I just tell people
Exactly.
go in with an open mind. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I don't think I've ever, knock on wood, had anybody that's left like, yeah, not for me. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I totally
yeah.
get that. And you mentioned a point too earlier, and I'm glad that you brought this up because this was a question I was thinking of, is you mentioned that people might just go for Reiki because they might just be feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And so that was
Mhm.
one thing I was wondering too, if you could share with our listeners, like, I guess certain reasons people might come, like if maybe they're trying to help get past a trauma or anything else that's going on in their lives. Like, I guess good use cases, so to say, for being
Mhm.
able to go for Reiki.
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why people come in. Sometimes they're feeling overwhelmed, they are anxious, and they're just looking for skills to practice in their daily lives. So I do a lot of stress management techniques as well. So in
Hmm.
addition to the Reiki healing, it's a lot of mindfulness and, how can we take these practices out into the real world in a way that's going to feel accessible for us in our daily lives? Because if I say you have to do it this exact way, and figure out how to put it into your schedule, it's just another thing added onto our list. So
Right.
sometimes people are coming in for stress, grief. I have kids that come in for sessions as well. I actually have an almost 3-year-old right now that comes
Oh.
to see me. Like we do some mindfulness and some movement, and we incorporate Reiki in there in like a kid-friendly way because they're not going to lay there for 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we move from the table and then we go play on the floor and we do some games and then we stop and we practice breathing. And it's really beautiful. I love to see all different ages access these tools because they are really powerful.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to think of what other reasons people would come in. Just I think needing safe spaces. we have people in our lives that we love and we know support us, but sometimes we need an outside perspective and an outside person to just not feel like we're being judged. And it's
Right.
like, I can just say, and I always tell, I mean, the things I've heard people say to me, it's not therapy, but it's therapeutic. I always tell people
Mhm.
I'm not a therapist, but it is therapeutic because you are able to release. Like, what are
Mhm.
you holding on to? Let it go, release it, whether it's through words, through tears, whatever you need. And sometimes people just leave and they feel lighter. And they're just like, oh, actually, I had somebody recently, she's like, I feel like a pancake just kind of melting into the table. And I was like, that's a good feeling. You just feel
Yeah.
grounded and connected to the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned too how it involves either lightly touching or hovering over like shoulders or lower parts of your body, feet,
Yep.
etc. Is there like, I guess anatomically, if that's a word, anatomically why those parts of the body are focus?
I don't get too much into like chakras and all of that stuff. For me, it's really about just helping people feel present. But there are times where I feel very connected to, I'm at the shoulders and I feel like I just need to hold there. And it could be
Mm,
because they're just holding a lot and the weight is on their shoulders, not
yeah.
physical, but it's the emotional weight that they're carrying is just in their shoulders. So it kind of
Hmm.
releases some of that tension. Sometimes it's at the head. My favorite part to focus on is on the head because that's where like everything's happening. And so a lot of people come in, my brain was just going all over the place. It's like I could tell. And then, it starts to slow down and they realize like, oh, I wasn't actually thinking about anything for a moment. And I feel like I was able to just be still and I heard the music and I just went into this place and I felt really calm. And
Hmm.
so sometimes I'll feel something or I'll pick something up and the person on the table doesn't, and vice versa. Like there have been times where I go through a whole session, I'm like, I don't, I don't know if they felt anything. And then they get up off the table and that was amazing. Like I feel so good. I'm like, oh, good. Okay. So it's not always the same on both sides, like what we're experiencing, but
Hmm.
each and every time I don't know, it's magical. I love it. I want everybody to try it just at least once. And um, yeah, I don't know. It's just a long way to answer your question, but
No, it's great.
it
I
doesn't,
mean,
yeah, there are certain spots on the body that do connect to certain points in the body energetically, but
mhm.
in my practice, I just go into it in like the most basic level. Like, let's just get you disconnected from everything else, mind and body connected in this moment. Close your eyes, relax.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah. And on the topic of disconnecting, I mean, that
Yeah.
also relates to your part of mindfulness. And so I'd love to hear more about the services that you offer as a mindfulness instructor, and then also the benefits that practicing mindfulness has for people.
Mhm. Yeah, there are so many different ways that we can practice mindfulness. And I'm not personally one that can sit there for 30 minutes and meditate. Some people are really good at that. It's not something that I can do. So, what I'm working hard to do is to educate people. You create a toolbox of different things that you can access. So, when you need it most, you're feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, angry, whatever is what you're experiencing, you can pull from that toolbox. It might be
Hmm.
breath, it might be EFT tapping, which is another thing that I do as well. I have virtual programs, in-person programs for that as well. Um, I think I just totally lost what you were asking me.
That's okay. So I
So
was
many things I could
wondering.
talk about. The mindfulness aspect and like how we use it in our lives.
And yeah, how it's beneficial. Yes.
Yeah. My goal is to help people figure out like what to put in their toolbox so that when they need it, it's easy to access. So say you're at your
Mhm.
desk, one simple thing is like just be mindful. All right, well, I notice this is how I feel. It's okay. Give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. And then you have a choice. You can stay stuck in that feeling of negativity, or you can choose to do something about it. All right, my shoulders are really tense. They're up. I'm really frustrated. I can't focus. All right, mindfulness comes in. I'm present in the moment. I notice without judgment. I'm going to drop my shoulders. Maybe I just stop and I step away from my desk for a few moments. Maybe it's I sit here and I take 3 deep breaths, or I call a friend. It's finding those little things that aren't going to weigh heavy on you if you're trying to figure out how to add them into your day, or add them on. Say you need to I don't know, for example, you have a tight back or something and you need to do stretches. Instead of saying like, all right, I'm going to find 30 minutes a day to do this. You brush your teeth at least once a day. Maybe after you brush your teeth, you just do a few stretches and you start small. Small change leads to longer habits, right? Or, better habits.
Yeah.
Time. So yeah, so really just being mindful is being present in the moment without judgment. Like, let's figure this out. How can we make it work for ourselves? Pull from our toolbox. Simple things. Like, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Life is complicated enough. Like, let's just find simple ways. And sometimes I always tell people, I do this with kids and adults. I say, you have your two things with you at all times. You've got your breath and you've got your voice. Your breath is going to help calm your nervous system. It's going to help you focus, feel more connected to the moment, more grounded. Stop, take 3, 5 breaths, like really slow, deep, mindful breaths. Maybe you bring your hands over your heart, close your eyes, whatever you feel you need to do. Even that alone is going to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then the voice, right? You always have your voice with you. I can do this. I am okay. But acknowledge those negative feelings too. Like, even though I feel overwhelmed, like, I'm okay. I can do this. It's almost like your personal cheerleader. That's
Yeah.
really what it is. So, yeah, those are some tips that I would.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like from what you shared, it really reminds me of the idea of you have to slow down in order to move forward. Meaning, like, if you want to go farther or do more, it's like you have to really stop and take a
Yeah,
breath and be able to have those moments for yourself in order to do more.
yeah. Our breath is really the most powerful tool that we have. I mean, you could have your whole toolkit, but your breath is really going, because if you're breathing really fast, it's not, I mean, you're going to be so focused on that and everything's just amped up.
Hmm.
Just slow the breath down. It's easier said than done. I always tell people practice when you're feeling good so that when you are not feeling your best, it's easier to tap into those things.
Yes, that makes sense. And I mean, you
Yeah.
brought up this really great concept of having that toolbox and being able to put the right tools in it so that way, like you said, when those moments come, you kind of have those solutions to turn to help you. But for someone who is starting to build their toolbox and they're not quite sure what works for them or even where to start with what to try, what advice would you have for them, but just kind of getting started and being able to think about all these different methods that might help them?
Yeah. I would say think about what you enjoy and try to find something that kind of blends with that. And
Hmm.
if you're not sure, if you are kind of like, well, I don't know what I enjoy, just try something new. Try one new thing. Maybe it's you go to a gentle yoga class, or maybe you do a kickboxing class if you want more high intensity. I think if we are at a point where we're feeling so overwhelmed that we can't really focus and we can't really figure out, well, what is it that I need, finding something that's grounding. So even just standing outside and just kind of basking in the sun we actually have today. But small things, and then you find what works. So like maybe you stand outside for a moment and you take it all in, you look around, you're like, this is really beautiful. Then you find something in nature. Maybe it's taking a walk once a day. Maybe it's
Hmm.
just to the end of your driveway. Start there. If you feel like you can't walk a full mile for whatever reason, start small. Start at
Hmm.
the end of the driveway. Maybe you just go to your mailbox and then you come back and then you work towards the end of the street and then you come back. But finding things that you enjoy, because it's not going to really work if you don't enjoy what you're doing. And so trying different things. And sometimes the first step is the hardest step.
Yeah.
And, you know, just asking people, like, what do you do? What do you enjoy? And if something resonates with you, be like, I'm going to try that. But
Hmm.
the first step is hard.
Yes, I agree. And
And
also,
it does take a while.
yes, exactly. And it sounds like too from what you've shared that you might have like some trial and error with it. Like you might try some things,
Yeah.
realize it's not for you, try something else, realize that's a great fit. And so just kind of it seems helpful to know that it's not like a one and done type of thing. It's something
Yeah.
that seems to be totally evolving over time.
Oh, for sure. And you might find something that you fall in line with for a while and you realize you're good with that. That's not going to work for you. And maybe you go back to it later. But
Hmm.
yeah, it does take time. Nothing happens overnight. I mean, if we're looking to change, it's not something that happens overnight, even though that's what we really want. Like I just
Yeah.
want everything to just be in place and I want to have all my tools and I want to know what I need to, enjoy life a little bit more and be more mindful. But it is, like you said, it's trial and error, just figuring out what do we enjoy? How does it make us feel? And if it doesn't make you feel present and joyful, then maybe you try something different. But
Hmm.
always give it a little bit of time. Try it more than once, try it a few times, kind of feel it out, and hopefully you'll land on what makes you feel good.
Definitely. And this is something that I always struggle with, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. But for me, when it comes to mindfulness, I totally struggle with not letting those thoughts creep in. I mean, especially during Shavasana, during yoga, I'm
Yep.
thinking like, oh, I need to cook dinner and I need to respond to that email and I need to answer this text. And I'm like, no, I just need to be here and be still.
Yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with too, is just like the taking that time for yourself and not letting those thoughts invade, so to say. So, advice do you have for people who might be in that same boat of just kind of like keeping the thoughts out, and being able to kind of take that time for themselves and not let it kind of infiltrate their lives, so to say?
I will say I get you. I have that happen to me all the time. And I really try to be real with everybody too. Like, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Mhm.
Sometimes these strategies are going to work and sometimes they're not. But if we're
Mm,
constantly, like hitting our head against the wall, like trying to make change and trying to push everything away, it's going to be harder because we're fighting so hard to go against it.
right.
So for example, when I'm teaching, I would say during Shavasana, if your mind starts to wander, acknowledge the thoughts, bring it back using your breath. Give yourself permission to just be here, to let it all go. Give yourself permission to just surrender to this space. Know that you are safe, you are supported, and it's okay. Like everything else will still be there, but give yourself that permission, but honor it, understand it, whatever comes up for you, whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, know that that is a part of you, but it's okay to put it aside for a moment. And it
Mhm.
takes practice. Sometimes they're going to be easier than other times. I mean, there are
Yeah.
times where I'm laying in Shavasana and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am thinking of everything because it's like we're laying still. We have time to think, but that's our
Right.
time. We should just be relaxing. It's easier said than done. I think taking the pressure off of having to have it be a certain way. Like I'm in Shavasana right now. I need to lay here completely still. My mind is blank. It doesn't always work like that. So don't
Mhm.
fight so hard to not have it, you know, it's, I think when we're fighting against it, it makes it harder. So just give
Good
yourself
point.
permission to
Yeah.
acknowledge it, honor it, and say, see you later. Like maybe imagine it on a cloud just floating away. But your
Yes.
breath is your anchor and your guide. That's another thing I say is bring it back using your breath. Where are you feeling it in your body? So then your mind starts to get focused on your breath. And then it's kind of getting rid of that clutter that is taking over.
Hmm. Absolutely. And with the grief education work that you do, I'd love to hear an overview of that in terms of what you offer and also the types of people that you support with it.
Yeah. So the grief support I love as well. I love all the work that I do because again, it's just meeting people where they're at and finding ways that help them get to where they want to go and where they want to be. I work with kids and adults. I do group programs. I do grief groups. I do, like, I just did one recently. It was for dementia caregiver support.
Mhm.
So caregivers of family members and loved ones that have dementia. And it just helped them understand the practices of self-care for them because caregivers need caregiving as well.
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of people just, when they're in it, they don't know how to access it. So my goal is to help them figure out like, all right, what is it? And sometimes they just need to be heard. And
Hmm.
that's really at the end of the day, that's what grief support is
Yeah.
allowing space for people to feel heard and not judged. Like, oh, it's been 2 years and I'm really still struggling with the loss of my spouse or whatever. It's like, okay, that's all right. Instead of the people around them saying, why are you not over it yet?
Hmm.
Like it's been a year. You should be done grieving. They're still in it. Everybody else has moved forward, but this person still feels like they're being held back. So my goal is to help them find purpose and find meaning so that they do find joy in their life again while still carrying with them that sadness because it just doesn't go away. It is a
Yep.
part of us. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
just being heard.
one question I have for you too is when we think of grief, I think our brain automatically goes to death, so losing someone. But I'm also wondering if within your grief education work that you might focus on people who are grieving like a relationship that's no longer there, whether it's like
Yeah.
friends or families or something romantically, or even like the loss of a career, like grieving that. I'm curious to hear more about like the not death grieving, but more so
Yep.
like something no longer being in your life grieving, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And I love that you brought this up because that's another thing that I really am trying to put out there is grief is not just from loss due to a death. It's a change
Hmm.
in identity. So if you've had children and you feel like your identity has changed, and while you love what you're doing, it's not the same as what life was like before kids. It could
Yeah.
be a move, it could be a divorce, it could be any major shift in your life that has you feeling that shift in a really deep way. So I love that you brought this up because a lot of people don't know that. And when we talk about loss and grief, it always kind of goes naturally towards, oh, it's a death.
Hmm.
And in a way, it could feel like a death, if that
Hmm.
makes sense, because we've lost something or we feel like there's that loss of something that we used to know. And even when we were going through COVID, it took me a while. Just like, I think we're in grief because we
Yeah.
are not experiencing the life that we thought we were going to have. Everybody's lives just changed. Most everybody's lives changed, and that we were grieving. Like
Hmm.
we didn't. That was a realization, and I felt like I was able to handle things a little bit better once my brain wrapped itself around like, why am I feeling this? What is this feeling? That was the
Hmm.
other thing. Like, what is this feeling? And what is this feeling for my kids also, and for the people I know and I love, and even the people that I don't. And it was grief. We were just grieving a lot of different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to remember. So I'm glad that you focus on work within that space of like not necessarily just death, but changes and transitions that might be really challenging for people to navigate and get through to the other side, and know that there's many different variations of loss or change or transition that might come with
Yeah.
that.
And one of the things with the dementia caregiver group is that it's not their person is still living, but they're constantly grieving in different stages because
Hmm.
there's so much happening. It's anticipatory grief. We're expecting like what's going to happen, what is this going to look like? But also their person is still physically there,
Yeah,
but things are changing, and that's a constant change in their grief. And it's yeah, I think there's such a need for an understanding of what grief actually is and what it's not, and what kind of support we can offer to people, kids and adults, because I think it's not a lot of people want to talk about death and dying
hmm,
or loss. It is a really heavy topic. I get that. So if I can do that for somebody and hold that space to listen so they can feel heard, because a lot of people can't. And it took me a long time to get there. For the longest time,
yeah.
I was like, do not talk to me about that. If we talk about it, it's going to happen. Like it was just that fear just held me back. Like, what am I doing? I would much
Yeah,
rather be educated and help other people feel educated and supported so that when and if these things happen, because at the end of the day, like it death does happen to all of us, change does happen to all of us. There are things in
right.
life that are not within our control. And if we can find tools and strategies to help us when those things happen, then we're going to be better off for it. It's still going to be hard, but hopefully we'll have something in place to help us when we need it.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned the parts about support and education, would you be able to give some examples of what that might look like or how you've worked with clients specifically in that sense?
Yeah. So some of it is the stress management techniques, just talking
Hmm.
about, breath work or finding joy in your life, finding purpose. So, I'm trying to think of an example. I had a grief group last year, and one of the things that we were talking about was what, what do you find, how do you find purpose in your life? Kind of carrying this group was specific to people who had a loss due to death.
Hmm.
So this one woman is really trying to carry on a legacy for her husband in a really beautiful way. She's starting a new business where she's carrying on who he was, but in a way that makes sense in her life and feels like it resonates with her, but also carries him with her. I don't know if that really explains what that is, but really the purpose is to just teach people, how can you be more mindful in your life and carry with you all of all of the stuff that you have, but find simple ways to just be present in everyday life. And
Hmm.
that sometimes is disconnecting from your phone for a little bit. Like get off social media. Give
Yeah.
yourself 24 hours where you're just not looking at the news. Something as simple as that can make a big difference. I notice there are days where I'm busy and I'm not really on my phone and I'm not looking at all of the news and whatever. And I realized by the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I actually feel better and
Yeah.
lighter. I want to be informed, but also mentally, I just feel a little bit more clear. And
Hmm.
maybe that's a good idea. So sometimes we just fall into it by chance and we don't need to do it. But yeah, if I can support people in their journey, whether through listening or providing simple tasks, simple strategies, that's really, that's my goal in the grief work. And all the work that I do really is just like, show up, you be you. I'm me,
Yeah.
you're you. Let's figure out like, how can we make this work? How can we find peace for you? How can we find ways to be meaningful and purposeful for you? Because my way is not everybody's way, and it shouldn't
Mhm.
be, because my story is different than your story, which is going to be different than the next person, right? It's, I don't know. Yeah. Life is
Totally.
hard.
It is hard. And so that's why it's so important, like you mentioned, to have that toolbox of the tools that you can turn to
Yeah.
when you need a little pick me up or a little extra support or something to help you get through those rough patches or rough moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just finding support in whatever way you can.
Right. And on the topic of support, I know you do a lot of support with individuals, but I know that you also do it with businesses and companies as well. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear more about that and programs or services that you might offer them.
Yeah, so I love working with businesses and corporations of all ages, whether it's a school system or if it's, a small company of 25 employees or a company that has 200 employees. There is such a need for wellness in the workplace. And in creating strategies for employees that works within their day, right? Because there are
Mhm.
a lot of people that are like, I cannot possibly take any time out of my day to walk or take a break or this and that. All right, well, let's find simple things that you can do. So I come in and just, maybe it's a little bit of chair yoga where we're just stretching. Okay, so during your day, you're feeling really stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed, shoulders are tense, they're up. This is a reminder, just let the shoulders drop. Take a few deep breaths, roll your shoulders back, forward, whatever you need to do. Simple. That's something you can do at your desk. You don't have to get up. If that's not something that you feel right now that you can do, go to take a walk. That's fine. Sit in your chair, release the tension that way. It's
Mhm.
bringing mindfulness into the workplace. Really, that's what it's about. And then finding strategies that work. Okay, I'm really stressed with this task that I'm working on. Sometimes it's just talking
Yeah.
about strategies. Sometimes it's actually practicing. So it might, be talking about it. Okay, what can you do in your day? Well, you're going to have an hour for lunch. Maybe during that hour, you get up, you walk around the building once. Another thing that I like to do is it's kind of like team building, where it's just casual conversation. So there might be some prompts that you talk about, like what are, some wins that you have, and just hearing from other people, what are some things in your life that are really good, and maybe what's something that you're struggling with. How do you practice self-care? Just hearing from other people on a more real, personal connection. I think taking them out of the work relationship and just having kind of that, like, oh, you're a real person and I can
Mhm.
maybe learn from you and maybe you can learn from me. But sometimes I also do Reiki in the workplace, which I love. I had somebody come in once and they're 10-minute sessions. They're very like 10 to 15-minute sessions. They're quick because people
Mhm.
don't want to take a lot of time during their day. Totally fine. So we do mini sessions where we set up and people sign up and they come in. And this one woman walked out and she looked at me. I did not realize that I could be that relaxed in the middle of a workday. I'm like,
Wow.
it doesn't take that much time. And that was a 10-minute session at that time. But it's just letting people know that it is accessible. You can do it,
Mhm.
but you have to find what works for you, what you can wrap your brain around. And it really doesn't have to be super complicated. So I love working with businesses. It's stressful, but it's important for the upper management to also be on board with it and be supportive and encourage their team members to show up to these things. And they're usually pretty short. I try the ones that I do with the companies. It's like 30 minutes. Sometimes it is an hour, depending on what it is. There might be yoga and movement. There might be just seated chair yoga. It might just be talking about different strategies like stress management,
Mhm.
tapping on certain parts of your body. Like, even though I feel overwhelmed, I am at peace. And it's blending. I love EFT. That one's one of my favorites.
Mhm.
That one is really just blending that negative feeling, positive outlook. Like I am feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed. I am calm. I can do this. It's really that self-talk and that focus on like, I'm going to tap here. I'm going to tap here. That's a
Yeah.
whole other conversation that we could talk about.
No, I just recently started doing EFT tapping and I think it's a really great thing too because
Yeah.
I find that when I do it, it's like my focus is on the tapping and not on the thoughts. So it's like it kind of helps me let go
Yep.
of it.
Yep, exactly. And that's really what it is. That's another thing that I really try to keep at the most basic level. I really focus more on the introduction of what EFT is, having
Mhm.
people practice it. Like, wow, maybe you don't want to do the talking part. Maybe you don't want to do the tapping, but your brain is so focused on what you're doing and where you're going that it's letting that mind clutter kind of go a little bit
Yep.
more. Like you said, you're able to focus more because you're just focused here. This is where I am. I do when I teach my kids, not my kids, when I teach the smaller kids, we always end, it's like their form of Shavasana where they lay down on the floor if they want to, and they have a little beanie baby and they
Hmm.
place it on their belly. And I always tell the adults, have them if they want, they can place it on their belly. It's just their reminder, kind of their focal point, like this is where I am. So it's the
Hmm.
same thing for them. And I do tapping with little kids too, but it's that reminder of this is where I am. And that's kind of what the tapping is too. Like this is where I am. This is where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing to add to the toolbox.
Yes, I know so many. For anyone
Yeah.
who's listening to this episode who wants to take more like insight or intention with like their healing, whether it's any of these modalities that you mentioned, or even just starting to build their toolbox, like what advice would you have for them for just kind of starting to enter this space, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think don't feel overwhelmed by all the things that we're talking about because fortunately, we have so many things that we can try, right?
Hmm.
There are people that really go deep into breath work, deep into meditation. Maybe your way to de-stress is a really long, like strength training, like that's or cardio or whatever your thing is. But give it time, be patient with yourself because it does take small steps for lasting change. And if we go in thinking like, I just need one thing that's just going to fix everything I'm feeling, well, it's not about fixing, it's about blending who we are. Like, I will never get rid of my anxiety. It's just part of who I am, but I
Hmm.
found ways to work with it and, just give yourself space and time and just try different things and see what resonates.
I love that. And for a fun question here, I really enjoy asking our guests what their favorite local businesses are to support. And so I'm curious to hear what yours are.
Okay, so I have a few. I wrote them down because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. So Jacqueline Marie Health, she is a holistic health and life coach. She's amazing. We're actually going to be doing a women's wellness retreat in the fall. I'm super excited.
Nice.
She's amazing though. So she's a holistic health coach. Fantastic. Most of her work is virtual, but she does in-person work as well. So that's Jacqueline Marie Health. Carol Mix, she is a life and business coach and strategist. And I just started working with her recently and she's amazing and I love her. I really love supporting small businesses, ones that are run by women. I mean, small businesses generally, but I really,
Hmm.
as a small women-led business, like I really want to support other people who are doing something similar. My dog goes to Lady in the Leash. It is a full service place. He goes there for grooming, for boarding, for play groups. Like it's our go-to place. And that's another small business, female run or business. And yeah, so those three are my top right now that I'm really into and really happy to support.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jenn, this has been a really great episode, and I've really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
having you on the show.
Thank
And
you for
now
having
I
me.
would love to give you the opportunity to share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to reach out and connect.
Yes, so I am based in Braintree, but I do a lot of my work virtually as well. You can find me on the internet at nurturedrootsma.com. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Nurtured Roots MA. Yeah, I'm kind of wherever people will bring me in. I'm in the schools, I have my home office, I'm in businesses, I'm in libraries. It's really just an opportunity to connect with people in a deeper, meaningful way. And hope you'll find me online or in person someday.
Of course. And I will link to all those places in the show notes that our listeners can easily click through and connect with you from there. But thank you so much again for coming on
Thank
today's
you.
show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.